Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm putting together my Project Life spread for the week of April 21st through April 27th, 2025, and I'm working with the April Stories by the Month kit from Ali Edwards. Let's go right ahead and dive in. Okay, so this week I'm working with the Stories by the Month kit, which means I'm also going to be doing my Pieces of April insert, and I have a ton of ephemera, but I'm going to work on the spread first. Actually, no, I'll do the spread first. I'll do the ephemera after. So, just a lot of little things this week. A lot of flowers in the yard. Starting to be more springtime. And a few little things around the house. I didn't have any horizontal photos, so I'm just gonna treat these pockets as if they are three by fours for purposes of photos. And I think I need to put maybe one more on this side, something like that. We'll see. So let me get all my ephemera out of the way and go through the cards first. I did save a ton of ephemera this month. I was very proud of myself. Okay, so I think I want to use this one, and I kind of thought of that in advance. I thought that would be a fun one to do some directed journaling. This Life Right Now one would be good too. And this would be good if I had like a longer story. Yeah, so I think that's gonna be my 4x6. And then this would also be really cute to cut down as a filler. So I'm gonna keep that one in mind. Oh, I like the clouds. And these I've been putting aside because I'm saving them to have a complete set. That's a cute quote, but doesn't fit this month or this spread. Okay. And I feel like I should use this card just because it is dated. So I won't really be able to use it after this month. That might be cute to just kind of layer. I like this card a lot. And this one. Let's see, I'm trying to think what stories I have to tell. Feeling a lot of stress, so I feel like I will journal about that on there. And signs of spring. This one is great for a bullet point list. And I don't think I have any other longer stories, and I have this, so I think that's plenty for journaling cards. I don't have any other fillers in here. So I'm probably gonna use one of these guys, like the stripes or something. Or this one, again, like I said, I love this card for a filler. I have a lot of spaces to fill. Maybe I'll use this one in 2 spots. Okay, so let's see what we have here. This month we have some larger chipboard that are tags. I don't want to use this one because I'm using that and they're very similar. This could be cute to add something on. That one too. Just to have like the 3 tags. I kind of like that idea. Not necessarily going to be in those pockets. And then these could be fun to add a little bit more stories on, but I'm not sure I have more stories after I fill all these cards. And my photos are also small, so I think I'm going to save these. And I'll probably pull some stuff in from my stash to add a little bit more on to some of these other fillers. But I think that's a good starting spot. So I'm going to go ahead and put you guys on voiceover and get this one put together. Okay, so I really have been enjoying working with the Stories by the Month kits this year and last year too. I just feel like a lot of the pieces work so well because they are geared towards seasonal stories. And I know that that fits because I live in the Northern Hemisphere and have very distinct seasons where I live. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but it does really work well for me. And the April kit has a lot of stuff about signs of spring and the floral and everything of the flowers blooming, which was just a lot about what this week was about. So it just fit perfectly for me. Because I'm using a lot of the vellum pieces, I decided to crop down some white cardstock from my stash to 3x4 cards so I could just adhere the vellum pieces on top of those cards and turn them into regular journaling cards because I don't really want the vellum effect to shine through for the pocket because I'm going to have the other week on the other side. I originally intended to use this April card as my title card. This is just a calendar of the month of April, and it kind of felt a little out of place to me because it looked like something that maybe would have been repeated in every month, but they only did April. So I don't know, my brain that wants everything like completed, it kind of hurt, but I thought it was a super cute calendar and I wanted to use it. I added some washi tape and just added it as a filler card. I cropped this 4x6 piece of vellum down and I'm making 2 3x4 cards out of it to go on different sides of the spread. This one is going to be a title card. I want to apologize if the video is a little bit blurry for this segment. I bumped my watch while recording and zoomed out, so it was like you could see my entire desk and like me and the floor and everything. So I had to crop it down while I was editing the video, but it is going to go back because at some point while filming, I did notice that this had happened and I zoomed back in. So hopefully it is still enjoyable for you to watch. On this chipboard piece here, I stamped the dates and then added a stamp from the 3x4 stamp set. And then I'm going to pull over my stickers from my desk. These are in my tin here that I use primarily in my journal and planner. But I mentioned this in some previous videos, but I'm really enjoying overlapping my supplies from scrapbooking and journaling and planning. And so I decided to bring out some stickers from the Coffee Monster Co. and added one on here. It's just like a little doodle of a guy with a journal and flowers, and it just fit the theme of this week for me. And I wanted something to kind of fill that extra space on that chipboard piece. Next, I'm moving on to this card here. So I have this vellum piece from the kit, and I thought it would be super cute to cut it out and adhere it on top of this photo. This photo is of my shoes when I came home from work one day and the starts of the tulips in the yard. Adding the vellum on top of it is definitely going to cover up most of the photo. It's going to cover up a lot of the flowers. You'll be able to see it peeking through, but you won't really be able to see the photo as much as you would have if I hadn't put it on there. But I decided to add it as a design choice just because I do have 2 other photos that are close up of the tulips in my yard. So I didn't necessarily need this one. And it was just a fun way to kind of embellish and add a little bit more fun to the spread. I added a chipboard piece that was another tag on that photo of me, and I'm also going to add one on the photo of that bird out the window so that I will have like 3 of the chipboard tags across the spread to create a sort of visual triangle. This All the Feels card, I wanted to do some journaling on it. I'm just testing my pens on the back because sometimes pens react differently with different types of cardstock, and I wasn't sure if I had tried these on Ali Edwards cardstock before. I know I have now that I'm watching this back, but I wasn't sure at the moment. So I'm using my Pilot Vanishing Point with Diatramentis Archive ink, and I'm also using my Tombow Funisuki soft tip to add some larger text. And on this card, it was titled All the Feels, and I thought this would be a perfect card to kind of journal about the sentiment this week. This was a super people-y week. And so I decided to document that. I am a huge introvert. I prefer to stay home and not talk to people. And I like, my solo hobbies, and I like, my few people that are close to me. And that's pretty much it. And this week I had to really extrovert a lot. We had house guests. And at work, I just had a lot of social interactions. I had a big meeting where I had to really be kind of like on my game. And although I'm good at that stuff and can handle it, it made me exhausted by the end of the week. And it was kind of an overwhelming theme from this week. So I liked having a card just to document that. I decided to pull over these circle stickers from my stash to add a little bit more of journaling onto some of my photos. I'm pairing each of the circles with one of the word phrase strips from the kit. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of context to some of my photos. I'm not going to put this on all of them, but I thought it would be a nice way to add some little micro stories from the week. Of course, I will still have my bullet point list, but sometimes it makes sense to pair some of the stories with the photos. So like this one is a pumpkin on this couch, and I'm also on my new chair. I'm also going to add one on that photo of some new art we hung in the hallway, because I wanted to bring attention to the fact that that's what I was documenting, that new art that is now being hung. I decided to slip everything into the pockets on this left-hand page. I don't typically do that in the middle of my process. Instead, I tend to do that at the end. But I knew that I was kind of done with how this page was going to be organized. And I also wanted to kind of move it out of my way. Sometimes my desk gets super cluttered while I'm scrapbooking, and I have so many things all over the place, and I can't find my scissors or my pen or whatever it is. And so sometimes just slipping the things into the pocket so I can slide it out of the way and not worry about losing any of the pieces just it brings me a lot of ease. And like I said, I was feeling super stressed this week, and I put together this spread at the end of the week. So I really kind of still was in that mind space that I was in during the week, which was kind of fun. When I originally started Project Life, I had done a lot of the documenting like during the actual week. And sometimes I have worked on these spreads during the week itself. I don't do that anymore, primarily because I like to film my process videos for you guys. And if I work on them during the week, I'm going to be working like 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there. And it's not conducive to filming. But sometimes I do miss that working on the spread during the week. So this one I was able to put together on Sunday afternoon, and I really liked having that change of context. That said, there was a photo that I took Sunday afternoon after I put this together that didn't make it in the spread, which was a little frustrating, but that's okay because I'm just going to put it in the next week's spread and pretend that it happened there because it doesn't really matter. So moving on to this card. So this card here has a prompt on it about what I'm cultivating right now. And I thought that this would be a good prompt to just do a little bit more telling of the story of what's kind of going on in my life at this moment. I can use this theme to bring in some of the stories I was already going to tell this week, and also add in a few other ones that I maybe would not have told without this prompt. I pulled over a stamp set from the recent Week in the Life release and added some numbers on here. And then I'm going to add like one word title for each of these categories of stories, things that I'm cultivating right now, using my Tombow Funisuke soft tip. And then after each of these larger words, I'm going to use the little asterisk stamp from the stamp set to add a little asterisk after the word, and then I'll do my handwritten journaling. I mentioned this in some previous videos, but when I do some longer journaling in Project Life, I take breaks between the journaling just because I don't want my hand to get tired and I will kind of get bored with the journaling. And so I like to write like a little bit at a time and then work on some of the other crafty aspects. So that's what you'll see me do with this card. I'm going to journal the top piece and then I'm going to move on to something else and come back to it soon. I do speed it up pretty fast for you guys while I'm journaling because I do write very slowly to try to keep my handwriting nice and also so that I can think through what I am saying. I'm not copying down my words. I don't pre-write them, but I do want it to kind of fill the space. So I'm thinking about it as I go. On this card here, I wanted to add another embellishment. I decided none of the chipboard pieces in the kit really fit. So I went into my stash and pulled over my springtime chipboard pieces, and none of those fit either, but I ended up finding some I have a section for like plants and blooming and growing, and so I used that section. If you're unfamiliar with my chipboard organization, I do have a video sharing how that came together and how I organize my chipboard, so I will link that in the description box down below if you are interested in checking that out. Here you can see me moving back onto this journaling card and adding more of the story. So the things I decided to put on this list were my yard, which was very front and center at this time of year of what I'm working on, my crafts and my craft accounts, my YouTube channel and my Instagram. I've been working on them a lot. I always work on them a lot, but definitely during this week because I'm gearing up to go on vacation. So that's pretty much what I spent most of my weekend working on. My home, because we are working on adding some details in the house. So I was able to kind of use that as a jumping off point to tell the story about that. And then my job, I've gotten some new employees lately and things are kind of shifting at work. So I wanted to talk about that. And then the last one I added was just personal growth. That was kind of a throw in. I didn't have anything specific to say for this week, but that is something I'm always working on. And I thought it would just be nice to kind of mention it as, just my mindset for how I am right now at this point in time. Here you can see me moving on to this photo of the art in my hallway. If you follow me on Instagram, I shared this photo on Instagram and I share a lot about my daily life. And then you'll see me document it here in Project Life later. But I did add some new art hanging in the entryway. I have a very tall entryway to my house and it is very plain white and bright just because it's a lot of wall space and it's intimidating. I'm not sure how to add things on it. And then also it's very high up. We had to bring in the 8-foot ladder to put this up, but I'm so happy with how it turned out. It ended up being perfect and I wanted to document it. I also was working on a new painting from Paint Vibe, so I am documenting that here. This was a photo of the progress I made on the weekend on, I think it was Saturday afternoon. I watched a movie and worked on this. It was a super fun way to relax on a rainy Saturday, so I wanted to document that as part of my story for this week. I also have that Signs of Spring card there and the final journal card, which is going to be my bullet point list. I added the April chipboard tag onto that photo of a bird that is outside of my window at work. I just saw that bird randomly one day. He was just kind of like saying hi to the window and I wanted to capture it. I do get questions a lot about kind of what stories I tell in Project Life or does enough happen in my life. And I want to say that not a lot is going on in my life, but it's still plenty to document. You can see from the spread, I have photos of the flowers in my garden, my cat lounging around the house, some stuff I'm doing hobby-wise, a bird that flew at my window or flew to my window, and a new piece of art I hung in the house and just a selfie. So nothing big, nothing that exciting, but it makes up my life and I love being able to look back on all of these little details of my week. I'm moving on here to my bullet point list, which is where I'm just adding some small little stories from the week that I wanted to document that didn't necessarily need their own card or have a photo. I again used the Astra stamp from that Alpha stamp set because I wanted it to coordinate with the other card. It does have the same kind of colors, which I thought worked really nicely to have these stripes alongside the other one with stripes. But I also just liked being able to tell some additional stories. See, you guys, I finally fixed the camera. I really apologize if that was annoying. I almost considered kind of scrapping this video, but I really didn't want to because I do want to share every single one that I do this year. I did that last year and I really enjoyed having the entire collection of my Project Life on my channel for you guys. So I apologize again if that was not great quality video. I don't know how to stop it from doing that, but if you bump like the little dial on your watch, it just zooms the camera without you thinking about it. At least it didn't zoom it in and then cut off the edges, right? Anyway, so moving on here, I'm adhering these 2 3x4 pieces together with some washi tape on the back so they'll stay in that 4x6 pocket. And then the last thing I need to do is just wrap up my journaling on this card of just my micro stories from the week. I don't have a ton to say on here, but just a few little tidbits from the week to kind of fill out everything that happened. And then I'm going to go ahead and slip these into the pocket and make any final adjustments to my spread to make sure that it is how I like it. I'm really happy with how this one came out. I really loved the colors and themes in the April Stories by the Month kit. And I felt like it really paired with the stories that I wanted to tell for this week. Next, I'm going to move on to doing the insert. So this insert is for my pieces of April, so my ephemera that I've collected over the course of the month of April. And I've been having a ton of fun with this year, adding these 2x2 page protectors in. The pieces of April card that you see that's already in there, I made those in Photoshop. And they were a free download. I will link in the description box below if you want to check out my 2025 Project Life setup video. There is the link to the free download there if you want to include these in your album as well. I like having them to just document all of these little details of life, and having these 2x2 pockets gives you a lot of space to collect a lot of things. And I think maybe in January I kind of struggled because I wasn't used to collecting this much ephemera from a month. In 2024, I used a 4x6 card that had space for 5 pieces of ephemera. And this one, I have space for 12. Well, I guess 11 if you get rid of the label that goes into one of the 2x2 pockets, plus the back side, which I have been doing various things on the back. But this month, I'm going to fill the back with some ephemera as well, and you'll see how that comes together. So essentially, I'm just trimming down all of this ephemera to have it fit into the pocket. I have a business card from where we purchased the new chairs we got. I have a business card from a craft store that I went to with some of my friends. I have the packaging from my perfume bottle, packaging from 3 different fountain pen inks that I got this month. I have some tissue paper that came in a few different packages of new things that were purchased this month. The sticker from a new Yeti that my boyfriend got. So I am including his things in here as well, if it is something that was super cute or something I just wanted to keep. This right here was some tissue paper that came in with my new shoes. I thought it was super cute, the Vessies. So I also had the tag from them that I included in there, but I struggled to cut it because it's such thin tissue paper. It didn't work with the paper trimmer. So I had to use scissors, and I just put it on top of some white cardstock while I was cutting it. The 2 pieces of tissue paper there, they kind of shine through on the back, so I'm not going to put anything on the back of them. And that one business card has that really cute smiley face on the back. So again, I'm not going to put anything on the back of it and let it just shine to both sides. But on the back, I do have a bunch of them there that are kind of empty. So I had this really fun tissue paper that came with the new Yeti water bottle, and I wanted to include a larger piece of it just because there were a lot of patterns on it, and it was just super cute. I again was trying to trim it on its own, and it just wasn't working, so I am adhering it down to some white cardstock and just using that to help it kind of be sturdy enough to slip into the pockets and crop it down. I'm trimming this a little at a time, and when I need to trim them down, I'm making sure to trim it from the outside edges because you don't want any gaps in the image. So I'm going to slip this into these 8 pockets on the right hand side of the back there. So it's like the 2 vertical columns. And then on the left column, it's going to be some additional ephemera. I have these Yeti stickers, and I decided to pull them out of the pockets and just actually use it as a sticker. So it was one Yeti sticker that I cut in half to fit into 2 of the pockets. And you can see I was a little nervous that I was going to put it the wrong direction on these and it wouldn't shine through. So I was lining it up very carefully to do that. Then I'm cropping down this additional bottle from ink. I ended up cutting off the name of the brand. Instead, I liked that they had I think it said fountain pen ink or something like that in 10 different languages, which I thought was super fun because this ink is from Germany. So they do sell them throughout the world. And I wanted to leave that there. Then I had this cute little bag from Zaka Joy, which is this adorable little craft store that I went to with my friends earlier in the month. So I trimmed out the face and put it on the front there. I have the business card from that on there as well. So the face is also on the back. Here's a look at how this completed spread came together. I have more photos over on my Instagram if you'd like to see. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.